Wondering how to turn brownie mix into a cake? We have the ultimate guide on what you need to change. And we even included an easy recipe. Brownie mix versus cake mix. Brownie mixes and cake mixes are very similar. They use a lot of the same ingredients like flour, eggs, sugar, leaveners, and milk or oil. They are also often made using very similar preparation, mixing, and baking techniques. The main difference between these two baked items is the ratio of the ingredients they contain. And these varying ratios create an entirely different texture within each baked item. Ingredient ratio. Leavening agent. Cakes contain a lot more leavening agents than brownies do. This is what makes cakes more airy and soft as compared to dense chewy brownies. Brownies often use baking powder or bicarb of soda in their recipes. Cakes, however, can also use whipped egg whites or cream as a way to incorporate air. Fat. The fat content in both these treats also differs vastly. Brownies contain a lot more fat, which helps give them a rich, moist texture. And the more fat you include in a recipe, the denser the item will be. Eggs. Brownies don't always use eggs. Cakes, on the other hand, contain a lot more eggs and often use both egg yolks and egg whites, which can be incorporated as is to act as an emulsifier and binding ingredient. They can also be beaten to medium or stiff peaks and folded into the batter. This creates a super light and airy cake texture. Sugar. Brownies often contain a lot more sugar than cakes do. This is part of what creates their fudgy or chewy texture. Changes that you need to make. Altering the fat content. To prevent your cake from coming out extremely dense and tender, you will have to create an overall lighter texture. This can be done by reducing the fat in the recipe. You can substitute the fat with butter. It will still add a rich flavor and a ton of moisture, but won't create an overly dense texture. Add more leavening agent. By adding more leaveners, you will help give the batter more rise, which will create a lighter, soft texture. Now, the brownie mix already contains baking soda or baking powder. So, you only have to add about a teaspoon extra. Use eggs correctly. If the brownie mix doesn't call for egg whites, you have to add them. They have a ton of functions in cakes, including leavening, binding, stabilization, and emulsifying. Now, you don't even have to add egg yolks to cakes. The spongiest cakes don't contain any egg yolks at all. What you will need in making this recipe. Ingredients. 1 box brownie mix, between 15 to 18.5 ounces. 1 teaspoon baking powder. 2 large eggs, room temperature. Half a cup of vegetable oil or applesauce. Half a cup of milk, room temperature. Step by step. Step 1. Prepare the dry ingredients. First, preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 180 degrees Celsius. Line a cake pan with non-stick baking paper or cooking spray. Set it aside. Combine the brownie mix and baking powder in a large mixing bowl. Make sure you sift the ingredients to prevent lumps. Step 2. Make the cake batter. Combine all of the wet ingredients in a separate bowl. Whisk them well to ensure they are evenly distributed. Add the dry ingredients to the wet ones. Mix slowly until all of the ingredients are fully incorporated and you have a completely smooth batter. Step 3. Bake the cake. Pour the cake batter into your lined cake pan and bake it for roughly 30 to 45 minutes. Once the cake has been fully baked, remove it from the oven and allow it to completely cool on a wire rack before decorating it. Tips and tricks. If you see that your specific batter is very thick, you can add a bit more oil or applesauce and milk. Only mix the ingredients until they are incorporated. If you overmix the batter, it will produce a dense cake. You can aerate your cake even more by separating the eggs. Incorporate the yolks with the wet ingredients. Beat the egg white separately and fold them in once the batter has been made. Before removing the cake from the oven, make sure it has been fully baked. Test it with a toothpick or cake tester. When it comes out clean in the center, the cake has finished baking. If you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.